Welcome back to Truth or Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, a retired narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran of OEF and OIF. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I have seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. These conversations can get raw, they can get heavy, and sometimes they may not be suitable for children, so consider this your disclaimer. But if you care about truth, justice, and accountability, then you're in the right. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone is having a good Monday evening so far. There's a lot going on in the news, obviously. Some very important things for sure. And so planning on talking, still be discussing the Nancy Guthrie case for any questions that anyone has. And then also want to discuss the situation ongoing in Mexico right now, which is obviously a very serious situation. And if you're not really aware of what's going on, we're going to talk about all of that as well. And then we may hit on a few other things. Just depends. So if you're not, well, first off, let me give a little quick synopsis of what exactly is going on in Mexico. Again, if you're not aware at all, or if you've just been kind of seeing but not fully understanding what exactly is going on. So on yesterday's date, which was February the 22nd, the Mexican authorities conducted an operation on the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. And we'll just call him El Mencho because his full name is very hard for me to pronounce. And that's what he's not. He's known as El Mencho. So during this operation, this was a capture operation, but during it, he was fatally wounded and didn't make it to the hospital. As pretty much immediately after that, most of Mexico became a semi-war zone due to the Jalisco, or we'll call them New Generation Cartel from now on, from the New Generation Cartel. And I've got some short videos and stuff to show you all that are just crazy. Now, to put this in perspective, you could take, and this is my opinion, along with others that know a little about the cartel. I'm not an expert on the cartels. I know a decent amount about them. You could put El Chapo, who was, everyone thinks was the leader of the Sinaloa cartel. He wasn't actually the leader, but he was one of the head men. You could take him and Pablo Escobar, and which was the head of the Medellin cartel back in the 80s that the United States ended up taking out back then. You could take them both and put them together, and they're not half as dangerous as El Mencho. Now, again, that's no exaggeration. The New Generation Cartel is by far the most violent cartel in that possibly we've ever seen. and also, my opinion, the most violent. Trying to think how to word this. Criminal organization in the world right now. That's over the Russian mafia, Italian mafia is not too big anymore, but you get my point. They are the most violent criminal organization in the world. That's why what we're seeing right now is, I'm not going to necessarily say unprecedented, because so far what we've seen, I wouldn't necessarily say that. But what is to come, nobody knows. Because this is a whole different monster than we've ever, and when I say we, the world, has dealt with as far as these criminal organizations. The Sinaloa cartel is a good cartel compared to the new generation. And they're not that old either. The entire new generation cartel didn't come around till, El Mencho is the founder, and I'll say 2011, 12, maybe 10, somewhere around in there. So very new in comparison, but became extremely powerful very, very fast. And they operate under a different set of rules than the rest of the cartels. If the Mexican government would have done what they should have early on in this organization's history, we wouldn't be having these issues right now. But they didn't do anything. And in fact, contrary to what anybody says, the Mexican government is ran by the cartels. You can argue against that all you want. That's the truth. There's no doubt about that. Anyone that claims different is living in a fantasy world. Does that mean every single politician in Mexico works for the cartel? No. But the ones that don't live very long. And I'm going to play a phone call in a minute that occurred yesterday when this operation began. And it's from El Mencho to the head of the local law enforcement agency there. And you are going to hear it as plain as day that they run the country of Mexico. If you ask me why, like what caused the Mexican authorities to actually go in and get this guy, I think it's between one of two things. I think a big part of it is the United States' pressure that and President Trump has been putting on Mexico, telling them they better do something or we are going to. And I think that's a big part of it. But another side of it could possibly be the president of Mexico or some higher leaders there are just working for another cartel that wanted the new generation cartel taken out. That's happened numerous times in that country. So, and I'm not saying that is the reason, but I'm saying that's always a possibility there. But I do think the main reason is the Trump administration putting the pressure on them. And some people are saying that the violence that's going on there right now with the new generation cartel is, it's not going to get much worse. But again, nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. And anyone to suggest different is crazy. I could definitely see, with knowing how violent they are and the things they've done already, I could definitely see that getting to a point to where Mexico has to call in the U.S. I could see that. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying nobody knows at this point if that's going to happen or not. And it when you take the head off a snake, it can go in so many different directions. As in this situation, it could be that this breaks the new generation cartel into 3 separate cartels. Could be that just another leader just steps up and takes over as it is. There's just no way of knowing. But in the meantime, one thing is for sure, there will be total chaos. And obviously they're not happy that their leader life has been taken. And trust me, don't lose any sleep over that man no longer living. When you talk about evil, it's 10 times worse than evil than you could probably imagine. That man, the things that he has ordered and the things that he has carried out. I mean, some of the most horrible things you could imagine, and things that you couldn't even imagine. So again, don't let anyone tell you different. Anyone telling you different is they're simply lying, for sure. Hold on, I just lost one of my chats. There we go. All right, let me catch up on some comments. I don't know what's going on with my YouTube stream. It's not showing me how many viewers we have there or whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I don't know what's going on there. Are they blaming the U.S. for his? I'm sure somewhat. The intelligence that allowed them to track him down came from the U.S. And the U.S. has made that clear. And so they know that. Here's the big difference, in my opinion, of this cartel versus any of the others that has had major issues before, similar to this. These guys are so ruthless. I could see them, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm saying I would not be surprised if it does. For them to go and start taking every tourist in that country right now just to shut the tourist activity completely down in that country, because that's the main way, one of the main ways that country profits. And that would be a way to do it. If they go and they start taking out tourists, there's not going to be any more tourists there for a long time. In fact, I don't think there's going to be any tourists there for a while anyway. And if you're an American, listen to me. You do not need to be going to Mexico anytime in the near future. You might as well be playing Russian roulette. So could I see them going and tracking down every American in that country right now? Absolutely. I hope that doesn't happen. And again, I'm not saying that will happen, but it would not surprise me. And I've seen people on social media today that are on vacation in Mexico right now and stating, oh, we're here where we are, we're safe. All is well here. They're not going to bother us here. That's crazy. Those people need to understand the danger they're in. And who, like, are they depending on the resorts they're in to come out and tell them they're in that danger? I hope not, because they're not going to tell them that. Number one, they don't want to cause mass chaos in their resort. Number two, who knows who they're listening to or who they're getting orders from. I mean, I've been telling people for a while now, don't go to Mexico. I'd say for about 4 or 5 years for sure, I've been telling people, no, do not go to Mexico. Cozumel is one of my favorite places on earth. I used to go there at least once a year. Stayed in the same place. I love it. But I stopped going there in like 2015. The work I was doing then, it was crazy for me to go into Mexico. It was a huge target, obviously. And so haven't gone back and won't be until major changes happen. And I've told all my family that for a long time. Don't go to Mexico. Oh, this is safe and that's safe. And look what's happening right now. And I'm telling you, no American that is in Mexico right now is safe. I don't care where they are. So it's just not a safe place to go for an American. And that's nothing against the Mexican people there. I'm just strictly saying that because of the cartels. Because the Mexican people they don't have any control over the cartels. You're exactly right, Addison, and that's a very good point. Addison said my ass wouldn't be posting in socials at all. That is a very good point. Now, let me take a quick. Before you open your door, pause. Did you check the back seat? Meet Clever Ellie, a simple, affordable plug-in that helps you build the life-saving habit of checking your back seat every single time you exit your vehicle. Just plug it into your car's 12-volt socket. When you turn off the engine, Clever Ellie plays a clear voice reminder to check your back seat. With 10 varied voice messages in different tones, your brain doesn't tune it out. It keeps the reminder in your conscious awareness so the habit sticks. That is the main difference between this device and any others that do this same thing. Clever Ellie works with all modern cars that have a standard 12-volt socket. If your car keeps power on after shutdown, like when the radio stays on, no problem. Every order includes an easy-to-install door sensor that triggers the reminder as soon as the driver's door opens. No 12-volt socket? They've got you. You can use the compact USB adapter. And yes, Cleverly doubles as a practical car charger with both USB-A and USB-C ports and ongoing improvements in charging speeds. Other systems can be expensive, complex, require professional installation. Clever Ellie focuses on human habit formation using varied voice prompts to enhance your memory, not replace it. There are no fees, no subscriptions ever. They are not for profit, dedicated to child safety and awareness. Even if your car already has a reminder, you can still benefit or gift cleverly to grandparents or anyone without a newer vehicle. Plug in peace of mind, build the habit, protect what matters. Get Clever Ellie today at cleverellie.com and join our mission to prevent hot car incidents. Use discount code DEREK, DEREK, to receive a free USB charging. All right, apologize for that. My little human was wanting to hang out with me, but she was getting tired. All right, let's get back on. Let me catch up with some comments, and then we'll go from there. Yeah. Now, as far as it, and Cozumel, in my opinion, is the safest place to be there, just because it's not part of the mainland. But again, trust me, you're not out of their reach if you're there, ever. And again, I don't trust this cartel at all. I don't, and a lot of people don't, and a lot of people are very, very worried at what may come. Again, hopefully it's not half as bad as we think, but you don't chance it. If any, there is no, right now, there is literally no part of Mexico that I would want to be as an American right now. None. No matter where. If it's in the country of Mexico, you are in their reach. And again, I hope what I'm saying is not what happens at all. And there's definitely a chance it will not. But again, I would not take that chance. And I could see this getting really, really bad, especially for American tourists in that country right now, for them to make a statement. Who went after the headman of the Mexican authorities did, with the help of American intelligence. $25K to $50K ahead to hire help to escape Mexico right now. And that brings up another something that I just want to mention, and I'm not going to mention any specific companies, but understand that when you're traveling abroad, there are insurance, policies that you can get while you're traveling for some of these companies that would come rescue you. That they have tier 1 operators working for them, and if one of their clients is stranded in a country like this, they will go and they will get them. It's not cheap, but that is available if you're ever going into a country where you don't feel that comfortable or something like that, and you don't have bad financial strings. It's something I would look into, because again, in this situation, it would be well worth it versus paying already being there and then calling them and having to pay this 25 to 50,000 a head. Because that sounds about right. I would bet as far as if you're there. Now the insurance for most of these companies are not nearly that expensive, just in case. What about a woman who is a legal citizen here but is from Sonora? She is planning to visit family in Sonora in April. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say no, but I'm not going to say that anything would happen to her. Plus, by April, I think we'll have a much better picture of what is going on. So, if she was leaving tomorrow, I'd say obviously not. No way. But, by then, we should have a decent idea of what's kind of happening and what's going to happen. But I don't have a good answer as far as, people that are actually from there. I'm sure their families there would be able to tell them or not. But if you have a United States passport there, I would be very, very weary. Yogurt is not going to. I'm somewhat familiar with him, and no, I don't see that happening. Who is saying that? So someone on YouTube made a statement, said, been reading that El Yogurt is going to step in El Mencho's place. He is talking about I'll call him an up and coming person within the new generation cartel. But I don't see that happening. I think that's just one that some people have heard about, because I've heard about him as well, and they're just thinking that just because they hear his name a lot. Was headed down to Tijuana to get some dental work done. Guess that's off the agenda. Yeah, I would not be doing that right now. And again, I'm not saying something would definitely happen to you. I'm saying me. There is no way, and there is no way in hell I would let any of my close friends or family members go. No, absolutely not. But again, I think people were just saying the Yogurt's name because they've heard of him. If they study the cartel at all or keep up with cartel news or anything like that, they've heard of him a decent amount. But just due to some things he has done. But I don't see that. Number one, nobody knows. I guarantee you. Here's how this works, and this is with any criminal organization, especially the cartels. When you cut that head off the snake, there are going to be lieutenants, which is usually the next highest ranking ones. They're going to, some of them are going to start fighting one another because they're all going to want that spot. And that's even if El Mencho had someone he had named in case something happened to him. Which, knowing his character, I don't know that he did, because he probably thought nothing would happen to him. I mean, again, I'm going to play you this phone call in a minute that you're going to go, wow, to know how powerful this man was. But yeah, nobody knows. And again, it wouldn't surprise me if there is some infighting already there. I don't know. They've already talked about taking Americans out if their demands are not met. I'm telling you, this is a whole different monster than we've ever seen, and I would not doubt anything. That is his name. Yogurt is really, I don't know if there may be a different way they pronounce it. I don't think so, though. No, because I've talked to people about him before. I don't. But that is his real name, or what they call him anyway, at least. What's up, Eric? They want the body and the ones that took his life. What does this mean for the U.S.? That's a really good question, and I don't have a good answer. There are definitely, God knows how many members of that cartel that are operating on the ground in the United States. Again, this is the problem with the open borders that we had for so long. Look at what's going on in Mexico. Turn on your TV and look at what's going on in Mexico right now. Literally right across our border. And there are people that were doing everything they could, losing their minds that we were wanting to close that border. It's because they're ignorant. They do not understand. And I don't mean that in a, like they're stupid. I mean that in they're ignorant to what is actually going on in Mexico and how these cartels work. They just don't understand it. The cartels, especially this one, does things that no movie you've ever seen could ever come up with at times. The different torture that they do at times, I'm telling you, it's something you've never even heard of or seen. It's that bad. But that is the problem with the open borders that we had for so long. But again, there are no telling how many of the new generation cartel members are in the United States working their arms here. That's been here. Now, does that mean there's going to be some type of uprising in the United States? Probably not. I would doubt that. But does that mean that they could do something really bad here, like as far as one operation? Get together and do, yeah. Again, I'm not saying that will happen. I hope it doesn't. But it is a possibility. Meaning some kind of legit major terrorist attack, which I hate to admit is very simple to do in the United States. because we have too many soft targets in this country. And yes, they have members all over the country of Mexico. They are the most powerful by far cartel in Central America and in Mexico. So they're going to have people. I mean, yeah, they have people all over that country, and they're not scared of any of the other cartels at all. They are as powerful as a lot of militaries in this world. They are the main supplier of that. What did I decide we could call it? Not get in trouble. Fent. We'll just call it that. They are the main pushers of that. That's one of their main money makers. That's why our president's administration has been so hard on the Mexican government to do something to them, because they're the main ones behind all of that. They work, and they do work very closely with China. Let me hold on, let me get this video or this phone call. We'll play this one right quick while I'm waiting for that. A lot of you probably seen some of these. For the ones that hadn't, so this is from yesterday. It's a gas station. See this white car that pulled up. It's going to be cartel members. These people were just trying to get gas. They made them get out of there, and now they're going to set. You'll see. Light it all on fire. They did this to numerous gas stations. So here's the point of that. Number one, just mass destruction, mass chaos. Number two, or this may be number one. I'll say that's number two. And number one is to try to impede transportation. They're setting up. I think yesterday it was reported that the cartel had set up at least 250 full roadblocks throughout Mexico. Again, we're not talking about the authorities, we're not talking about a law enforcement organization, we're not talking about the military. The cartel had set up over 250 roadblocks. And then they were setting a bunch of buses and cars, and probably still are, on fire on roadways, again, to impede transportation, and burning a lot of the gas stations. Got one more. Let me see. This is a very short video from. Hold on. This is from Puerto Vallarta yesterday. Just like somebody from inside the city. Looks like a war zone. All right, let me see. Now, this was from hold on. I want to give credit here. I don't. It may say it in the video. I don't remember. All right. The audio is in Spanish, but I want to slow this down because we're gonna read this just so everybody gets a full understanding of what was said during this phone call. And again, this is between El Mencho and I guess you would call it the chief of police. And no audio. What more? Oh.
Soy Mencho, güey. Relaja tu puta gente a la verga.
All right. You better tell your people to leave us alone. It's Mencho. I'll try to cut the bad words out here. So he's called this law enforcement leader.
Mencho, güey.
Telling the beginning of this operation. Get your men to fall back, or I'm going to F you and your whole squad. I have 30 of you located and identified. I'll even your dogs if you don't chill out, bro.
Basically, don't you know who I am? Yeah.
Oh, wait. Hold on. I think I'm supposed to say. This could be a... What am I supposed to say, team? Trigger? If you're under 18, you should not be on my lives. Anyway. But if... I don't know. There's your warning. If bad words bother you, there's your warning.
Who I am? Don't mess with me,
Ya
bro.
está, señor, ahorita los bajo.
This is the police chief responding back to him. You got it, sir. I'll tell the police squads to fall back. And then he tells him, no, you better not hang up. I've got your location right now.
Oh, no cuelgues,
sir,
hijo
I'll
de
tell
la
the
verga.
police
Te
to
tengo
fall
ubicados
back.
en Chacala, güey. No, no le estoy colgando. Le
Got
estoy...
your-
No, sir, I'm not hanging up. I was just saying I'll let them know. That's how scared this leader of law enforcement is.
Wow.
Póngase bien las pilas, güey. ¿Qué se le cuesta hacer a mí?
Get your shit together. Didn't you guys agree to work with us?
Cabrón.
Wow.
Uno no se mete con ustedes para que se pasen de verga.
Agree to work with us.
Ahorita yo se las bajo. Pongan, mire, revisen.
Tell your to fall back because all of you happily accept my money, you pigs.
Démenles a todos los hijos de su puta madre porque todos agarran dinero y son buenos de puercos.
You happily accept
¿Qué es lo que me están
money.
diciendo? Que
The
ponen a
bribes.
tiros.
Get your shit together or you'll be the first one that I'll make an example of. Yes, sir, they're telling them right now.
O tú eres el primero que vas a marchar
Yes,
por ellos,
sir.
León.
Yes, sir.
No, señor. ¿Vale? No, señor, no se trata de
No
eso.
problem.
¿Vale?
We won't have any more problems. Watch yourself because I'll spill blood at moment's notice. You already know what's
La
up.
verga, porque aquí los vergazos están al 220, ya se la saben.
Spill blood
Y
at
miedo no hay.
moment of notice. You already know
señor,
what's
no se
up.
trata de eso. Ahorita yo lo sé. Entonces, si quieren amistad,
So if you guys want us to be friendly, then you be friendly. If not, you read the rest there.
sí va a tener un amigazo, cabrón. Si no, a chingar a su madre a la verga. No, yo sé, señor. Estoy hasta la verga de que no entiendan, loco.
This continues.
I'm so fed up that you guys can't understand instructions. Sir, you know me. You know I'm on your side.
By the way, this
So for which most people don't, but for anyone that did question, oh, the cartels really don't own all the law enforcement, and well, there's your proof. You heard him tell him. Y'all gladly accepted my money. You agreed to work with us. Yeah, I don't think that was exact translation in some parts. Believe it or not, there was a time I was fluent in Spanish. It was actually my minor in college. But it is true. If you don't use it, you lose it. But yeah, that's a pretty damning telephone call. And again, that was yesterday when El Mencho figured out what's going on, who is coming after me, and made the phone call. And you heard the guy; he's scared to death of him. And also understand, everyone that cooperates with the cartel, it does not mean they're a horrible, evil person. A lot of them literally have no other option. It's either cooperate with them and be alive and your family be alive, or don't, and they will take you all out, especially with this cartel. So I hope everyone understands that. Now, a lot of people that cooperate with them are just as evil, but a lot that do also, they don't have any other choice. They rule by fear, and they make a lot of examples. Mexico's new president doesn't want different from Mexico. I don't agree with that. Again, if not for the pressure of Trump, there's no way they would have went after this guy. No way. Do I think they own the Arizona police? No, not as a whole or anything like that. Now, are some border state law enforcement officers in their pockets? Yes. Not a lot. It's few. But yeah, that happens. I mean, there's been interdiction officers that have been caught in their pockets. I worked drug interdiction on the interstate for 2 years, and if you're not familiar with what that is, it's when you see the police that are sitting out on the interstate all day, they're looking for drugs and money, and that's their job. Because, so, for example, Interstate 20, which runs from Houston, Texas, to Atlanta, Georgia, is the main hub for all the drugs coming across the border into the United States, drive that road and go to Atlanta and then spout out from there, because Atlanta is the main hub in the South. And all the money comes from Atlanta back to Houston, and it's transported in cars. And so drug interdiction officers they're out there, and we're trained to recognize signs of these transporters. And there are thousands of different clues and cues and things to look for. But so you sit out there and you watch for these clues, and then you say, okay, something's up with this car. And you conduct a normal traffic stop. You still have to get a traffic violation on them, but you conduct a normal traffic stop. You walk up, you treat it as a normal traffic stop. Now, if they are transporting one of those things, they know who you are. They go through training as well. But you treat it as a normal traffic stop, and then that's where your interview and interrogation skills come into play, and your body language is extremely important. And you start picking up on, okay, is there something in this car? You ask them certain questions, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then if you pick the right car, then you may get $580,000 in cash out of a spare tire in the back. You may get $80,000 in a door panel. You may get 12 kilos of the white powdery stuff under a back seat, those kind of things. So, and those are very, very important units. And most people do not understand what they do. And they start calling in to the local police departments and saying, why are they out here on the interstate pulling cars over? Because they're looking for those two things. And that money goes a long, long way. One stop could yield $1 million, and has numerous times. $1 million helps a local law enforcement agency a long way. But it can buy all their cars for the next 2 years. It's very good, and that does hurt the cartels. So I didn't mean to get off on that rant, but it always frustrates me. People don't understand it, and so they call and complain, or they're always complaining, and they just don't understand it. Now, it's not the same for these, what I call wannabe interdiction agents that work for these very small town police departments and go sit up on the interstate. They don't know what they're doing, and there's 2 of them on duty, and they need to be patrolling their city, their little small city. So I'm not talking about those. And we had a problem with that in the state of Alabama not long ago with a police department out of Brookside, Alabama. And you can read that story. It was horrible. They were wannabe. They didn't know what they were doing, and they were violating people's rights left and right. Horrible. But I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about legit interdiction agents. That's their full-time job. But anyway, what got me on that? It's rare, but there have been times where it's found out that an interdiction officer somewhere in the United States was being paid by the cartel to let, loads slide. And, they were caught. Again, it's not happened a ton, but it has happened. That can be anywhere in the United States, especially across one of these main corridors like Interstate 20. But so back to the original question, do I think, they own any Arizona police? Again, not like whole organizations or, entire agencies or anything like that, like they do in Mexico. But is it possible that 1 or 2 officers from some departments are in their pockets? Absolutely. And it happens. Same thing. I teach narcotics agents and interdiction agents. You might as well go dig your own grave the second you accept anything from the cartels, because you will never get out. There's no way out. The only way out is losing your life. It's not like you can just work for them for a few years and make a couple $100,000 extra and then say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. No, it doesn't work like that. So again, it's very, very ignorant for a police officer to do that. I mean, the dumbest thing ever. But again, some still do. What exactly is misinformation that he is spreading? Somebody said I'm spreading misinformation. I mean, dead serious. If you think I am, please tell me what you think I'm the misinformation I'm spreading. You can't just say I'm spreading misinformation. So if you say I am, tell me what misinformation I'm spreading. Because I'm legit curious of what you're talking about. Oh, I've got tons of mods, but I'm pretty picky on just blocking people. Okay, that audio is not from this time. It's from a long time ago. What has been reported today is it's from this time. That's all I can say. And I stated that. I said this is reportedly from yesterday when I first said it. But again, I don't know does it really matter? So you're saying I'm spreading misinformation. The phone call is real. I do know that. So does it matter when it was? Legit question. So that's not misinformation. Even if it wasn't from yesterday. It's still it's just as relevant, whether it was 3 years ago or yesterday. Now, again, it was reported that was from yesterday. But you may be right. Maybe it wasn't from yesterday, but again, I didn't check that much into it because I don't care either way, because it's just as relevant. So I'm curious about how you could have an argument about just because it wasn't from yesterday. Like, what's your point? Again, it's just as relevant. Anyway. As someone who lived in Houston for 32 years, I can confirm what you're saying is true, very true, and it happens every day. Yeah, absolutely. But no, I do know for a fact that was El Mencho speaking to a top law enforcement official in Mexico, and it was a real phone call. Yes, I-10 is another major corridor. You're exactly right. Up from Tampa is a main hub. So up from Tampa, to the north, obviously, and then Houston to the, northeast and west. The main drug hubs in the United States is Atlanta's the number one. Chicago is another big one. Detroit. And I want to say one of the cities in South Carolina, but I may be, or North Carolina one. I can't remember. But those are the main ones. Meaning drugs cross the border and go to one of those hubs, and then from one of those hubs out. But Atlanta is the number one main one for sure. New to channel, have you ever thought running for president? I don't think I'm that smart, and I definitely don't have that kind of money to run for president. I will not be surprised if in my small ranching community in southern New Mexico, we do not start seeing an influx here. Lots of back ranch roads, not close to check stations. Yeah, I mean, you may be right. Now, it's honestly, from the intel I've been getting the last 6 months, the southern border is pretty much shut down. I mean, in comparison to 2 years ago, the cartels are really struggling to get things across the border, like majorly. And in fact, they have moved a lot of their operations to the northern border with Canada. So they have moved into Canada and trying to get them down through the northern border. And tons of people said, you can't just shut down the border. Like, that's impossible. No, we have, and we did. Very quick. That's how quick it happened. Now, again, does that mean nothing illegal is getting across the border? No. But again, in relation to 2 years ago, it's maybe 1%, maybe 2% from intel I've been getting from people that are on the ground and doing the work. And I've been hearing that for at least 6 months, because I couldn't believe it when I first started hearing it, that it was really that shut down like that. I mean, it's made a huge difference. Wish our prime minister would shut the border of the UK. I think they've been kicking a lot of people out themselves lately. And they finally started seeing a big problem with it. You can't have open borders and keep a country. You can't. It'll shut a country down. You can't. I mean, politics has nothing to do with it. I mean, just look at history. You can't do that. The underground tunnels. Well, no, they've cut down on a lot of that too. Now, again, I'm not saying every single one of them, but no, a lot of the underground tunnel, they have, I'm telling you, they've done a lot of work on the southern border in the last year. Sounds like you're smart enough to know better than run for president. That's a good way of putting it. I will agree with you there. No, the drug boats, yeah, they've really cut down on them. Weird how that happens when you start causing a deterrent. And people have a problem with that. You blow my mind. The people have a problem with that, with us taking out those drug boats. What is, like, I don't understand what world you're living in. You obviously don't understand how the real world operates. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like, I'm not saying everybody should. Again, as I've said numerous times, I'm glad a lot of people get to live in their bubble in this country. I'm glad. And that's the way it should be for most. But if you live in your bubble, then stop acting like you know everything that's going on, because you don't. You don't have a clue. If you've never looked inside that world, you don't have a clue. And again, I'm glad you don't. But stop thinking you understand how that world works when you've never looked inside of it. You don't have a clue. Trust me. Hey, thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. And again, nothing I'm saying has anything to do with politics with me. Nothing. I'm stating things that I understand, that I know how they operate, and ways to help those problems. I don't know of a way to obviously fully solve the problems, but there are a lot of ways to help those problems. And right now, a lot of those things are being done, and it is helping a lot. Didn't you know that 20-year-olds got it all figured out? Well, I will say this. When I was 20, I thought I had it all figured out. And if I could go back and slap myself upside the head 10 times a day, I would. Because I really did. I really thought I knew everything. I don't know how some people stood to be around me at that time, because I thought I knew everything. I was in college and just finishing college, about close to finish college, and I thought I knew everything. And I did not know anything. God. So if you're around that age right now and you think trust me, you don't know anything. You don't know what you don't know. But I mean, I know more about the drug world than I wish, as most of my career was spent in that, and it's a different world. Oh, we got an update. So, husband of the friend just sent me a message and said she is not going to Mexico anytime soon. So, I think that was the dental procedure. That's good. Or was it the dental procedure or the one visiting family? I can't remember. I'll be 65 in a couple of weeks, and I'm still learning. Absolutely. If you're not learning new things every day, then you're closed-minded. And if you're closed-minded, you're not going to learn anything. Yeah, the things that you don't know is the main. There's so many things you don't know. And just like whoever just said that, I still learn a lot every day. There's still a lot I don't know. What do I think about those two Hispanic ladies from yesterday at Nancy's neighbors? So someone fill me in because I just glanced at something about that, but I didn't look. Do you honestly believe the drug world could be shut down one day? No, not fully. No, I don't. Now, could it be changed drastically? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I still see it with local and state narcotics units all the time. There's still some that don't understand how to actually help the problem. And they're just out spinning their wheels and they do dumb things. And they're still stuck on the way that they did narcotics work in the 70s. And it's just a completely different world. And it drives me insane. They're ignorant they don't know how to do their job. And there's a decent amount of those little units, I guess you could say, in Alabama, but as well in numerous other states as well. They don't get it. And it drives me insane because it's easy for me to say. It's not that hard because of all the experience I have, but I don't understand why they can't get any kind of grasp on what they're doing is not making a difference at all. And the bigger my platform gets, the more I'm going to be speaking out about that. Because you've got some, and again, I'm not talking about most, just some. But you have got some law enforcement leaders that don't understand it at all. And they've got the same guy running their narcotics unit that's been running it for 30 years. They're not doing any good. No. In fact, sometimes they're doing more harm than good. And you can try to tell them, and they just won't listen to you. It's like, no, you just don't understand. That's not the way that they do things around here. It operates the same way everywhere you freaking go. Like it's not different. Anyway, that's a whole different rant. I mean, the Jefferson County Narcotics Unit in Alabama, which is where Birmingham, Alabama is, just a few months ago posted a bust on where they arrested a guy that had like 20 weed plants in his house. Why are you wasting time on that? Like, what are you doing that you're using any freaking resources on that in today's time? That is pure ignorance. Jefferson County, and I don't know anything about the Jefferson County Sheriff, to be honest with you. But once I saw that, I knew Jefferson County needs a new sheriff. Because anyone allowing that mess to happen right now, that's freaking crazy. Like, it drives me insane. Because trust me, there are some major, major drugs in Birmingham and in Jefferson County. And their entire narcotics unit was working a case on a guy with 20 weed plants in his house. Well, should be focusing on those that prey on our children. Well, you have to understand so a narcotics unit is there to work drugs, and they're needed for sure. Now, during some of that work, you're going to come across these, because I did numerous times. You're going to come across child predators at times, but using narcotics resources for that, when fent is taking people out left and right, and I mean all the actual hard drugs that are actually harming the community, and most importantly, go after a drug dealer that's actually harming your community. Trust me, someone that's growing 20 weed plants in their house is probably not harming their community. But you have to follow the money in that business. And there are a lot of narc units that don't understand that at all. They don't hardly ever seize any money. They're spinning their wheels doing nothing. It's crazy. All right, back to these ladies in Arizona. They were searching supposedly on the neighbor's property, and the police was called, and they were told they need permission. Well, that is true. I mean, you can't just walk on somebody's property without their permission, no matter what, unless you're law enforcement working an actual case. So were these ladies supposed to be like what are they? Who can fill me in on, like, are they experts in something or like because one of the headlines I saw kind of made me think they were like maybe I don't know, like psychics or something like that. Okay, so they're not okay. See, I had the whole story wrong because again, I just glanced at it and I thought they were like psychics, and so I didn't read into it. So they are actually legit searchers, I guess we would call them, and have located numerous missing people. But what was causing them? Because a picture I saw looked like they were actually digging. Like, what were they like? What took them to that spot? Does anybody know? Poking hose to smell for decay. We have dogs that are way better than any human. I mean, cadaver dogs are unbelievably good at that. If they're and they don't have to dig a hole for the dog to, if it's anywhere, and that they'll pick up on it. And now I'm not trying to discredit what they do. Again, I don't know anything about them. Again, I get on to people for assuming, but I assumed that they were like some kind of psychic or something, and I was like, ah. And no, most people that claim to be psychic, I could convince most of you I'm psychic. I mean, dead serious. Put me in a room with you for an hour, and I could convince you I'm psychic. It'd be very easy. So I don't believe in psychics. Do I believe in certain people being able to, that have their brain operates on different levels than most? Yes. Do I believe in some of the remote viewing? Yes. But these psychic people, I guess anybody that calls himself a psychic, nah, it's mumbo jumbo. And how do I know? Because again, I could easily convince you that I'm that. It's not that hard. If you know how to read a room very well and you know how to read people, it's not that hard. You may have already talked about this, but today I heard that the reason the person didn't have the backpack on in one of the videos was because it was recorded on a different day and the person was casing the house. Then he came back at another time with the backpack on. So, and so, I mean, some people have said that. If that's true, I don't understand how they got that footage unless what I've been told about how they got the footage is just simply not true at all. It's not a mask with no eyes. That's the infrared. It's just blurry. Let me look something. Let me look this up because I'm curious. Just so many people keep saying that. Again, they're going to have to explain how they got the footage, though, if that's the case, because if they were able to get all the previous footage on there, they should have whoever did this in custody. I mean, there's no way around that. I'm very confused. Nancy Guthrie, suspect, had been to her home prior to her abduction, a source tells ABC. Most of us already knew this because in one photo, the suspect has no backpack, no weapon holster. We can also tell the moon is a lot brighter. No, it's not the moon. No. Now I do know this. It's the reason it's darker in one and brighter in the other is because the floodlights were still on in one of them, and then they broke the floodlights and busted them down. But again, I'm not. I still don't buy this. I mean. Hold on, I just saw an extremely dumb comment on this. I got to comment. This is the most ignorant comment I have seen. There we go. There's some comments I just can't bypass. They're so dumb. Yeah, team, if y'all can find who the source is, I don't think I still don't buy that. Unless the authorities come out and say that, I don't think because again, I'm almost positive I know exactly how they pulled the footage, and there would be no way to go back days prior and pull footage. And I don't see how anybody can say it doesn't appear to be the same guy to me. Anyone that says that, now I'm not saying it is the same guy. Please understand me. I am not saying it is the same guy. I'm saying if you think just by looking at the infrared still pics of that picture and the other ones that you could tell it's a different person, you're in your own world. So again, I'm not saying it is not a different person. Did I say that right? I confused myself there. But there is no way to tell just from, again, people are saying the mask, no eyes. No, it's just the way that he's far out and it's darker. And so the infrared, it's the way the infrared does. Again, infrared is you can't see details at all with infrared. And the one thing I know about that case, if this sheriff wasn't part of this, it would be solved by now. I feel more and more confident each day to say that, to make that statement, because I keep hearing more and more of how bad it is and how bad he is impeding this investigation. And it's bad. I mean, and people, you please understand. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying if you're saying you're correct by going off of infrared pictures, you're not. Please understand how that works. And I've just had to review so much footage of infrared video in the past. I know how misleading it is. Like somebody just said, it's different shoulders. It is impossible for you to tell that, because the one picture, the guy standing, hold on, let me pull it up. And if you're new here and I'm jumping on you about the infrared, I apologize. I've just had to go through that every single live so many times. But I'm not trying to be an asshole. I promise I'm not. All right, let's pull these two up and we'll just walk through them. Maybe I talked myself into agreeing with you, but I don't think. But you never know. But again, for those that say no eyes, there's eyes in that. You can't tell from the infrared from that distance. Hold on, I'm bringing up the other one. Now I want to show y'all, for those that saying it's a lot brighter in one. So hold on, that's not the. You can't even see the front of them. Never mind. Here we go. So, as far as the brightness, so from what I've been told, what the authorities believe is when he first comes up here, that the floodlights on the front are still on. And then they bust them out. Now, again, I'm not saying that is 100% what happened. I'm just telling you what I've been told. And that does make sense to me. Now, I'm trying to, you can see, these are the same, I'm telling you, these are the same night, and I'm about to prove it right here. I can see it right now. All right. Is there a way I can show my mouse on here? I'm just going to do it this way. You'll bear with me for 1 second. Those are from the same night. Let me show y'all. All right, so we've got that one. I'd do it like this so I could see my mouse. All right, so come on. All right, so you still can't see my mouse. Why? There we go. Y'all can see my mouse, right? All right. I want you to look at this little light right here or something. There's a light, something that's a little brighter right at the tip of my mouse there. And I want you to look at over the other guys, and you're not going to be able to see my mouse on it, but the other guy's left shoulder up a little bit. You see that same little light sticking through there. Now, here's the most telling of this is the same night. You see these, whatever this is, you got it right here and then right here, just to the right of those bright lights. So y'all see that? Now, look over on the other one. You see those exact two anomalies, whatever they are. That alone, it's going to be very hard for you to convince me these are from different nights. Does that make sense? Yo, does everybody see what I'm seeing? And why I'm thinking what I'm thinking? Let's see. Hold on, let me look at this right quick and see. Why does it cut off right there? Yeah, too many similarities in the background for me to say this from a different night. Now again, I could be wrong. I just don't think so. People saying, "Where's the backpack?" You act like it's impossible to take a backpack off your back and set it down somewhere for a minute. Now, there's some arguments you could have here. That's not one of them. You act like, oh, it is impossible for him to take the backpack off. And people saying you cannot say the jackets are different length. Because in this one, the jacket's pulled up, tucked under the weapon. And in that one, it's not. So and again, I'm not saying they're the same length. I'm saying it's impossible to tell if they're different lengths from these two pictures. And I think most of you would have to agree with me on that. Let me pull up another one from the night that we know was the same night. I guess we're going to have to hold on, let's pull the video up. That's weird. Oh, no, it's not. Let's see. Oh, that's another picture. Where did that come from? Oh, this is good. Okay. So another example. This is a still pic I took from the video of the one we know was from that night, right? With the backpack and everything. You can see the backpack, the reflective things on the backpack. Now in this, it looks like the face mask has no eyes. Again, it's just because it's more of a distance away. Now, here's why. Oh, this is proof. Okay. This makes sense now. He has an actual shadow in this one. And this is from the one, again, I'm going to play the whole video in a minute. Look, he has an actual shadow. That's not from the moon. That's going to be from overhead lights. Anybody disagree? But you see he has an actual shadow. Now let's play the full video. Or, well, this is the first half of the first video. Just looping a few times. But you see he has an actual shadow. And yeah. That's a pretty good shadow there. And you can see right where the light, look at right to his left foot, his left leg, where the light is shining on the beginning of the stairs. And then when he steps up, his shadow takes that out right there. There's an outdoor light on. Then let me pull up the rest of that one. Now I want you to look at the difference in the lighting, just because of how infrared is just, it's very it can be very misleading at times. Look how dark it looks outside now. You see how dark it looks? But then, boom, well, it's bright out there now. Now it looks very dark. That's infrared. It will play with your eyes. But the one thing, like I said, noticing that shadow, there's an outdoor light on. Now, again, that does not mean that just because there's an outdoor light on there, that was from the same night because the other one's darker. But it definitely, on that part of that video, there's an outdoor light on. And in this other one, it doesn't appear that there is. But again, it's still hard to tell with infrared. It will play with your eyes. Again, right? I mean, it makes him look like he don't have eyes on the face mask. But I guarantee you, nobody's just walking around. Like, you gotta think about that. Like, is somebody gonna just be walking around with no eyes in their face mask? Are they that familiar with the place? They can just do it with closed eyes? No. And you can kind of see the outline of eyes if you really look there. Again, you can kind of see the little white and then the mouth. But again, it's because of the infrared. So, I mean, it definitely has eyes and a mouth and stuff. Yeah, the only way anybody would convince me that those are from different nights is to explain how they were able to pull the footage from the night that was days before or whenever. How did the outdoor light go up? Because they busted them. All the floodlights on the house were busted and broken. Why turn his light on in his mouth before the step? Because he knew there was a step coming up. He wanted to make sure to not trip on the step he knew was coming up. That's what has led me to believe that he is extremely familiar with, or one of the reasons it leads me to believe he is extremely familiar with the residents. I didn't think they were allowed to have these because of light ordinances. Yeah, they're not supposed to have many lights, but she had floodlights on her house. I've seen the pictures of them broken, and they were broken that night because there were broken parts of them on the ground outside. But again, in that video, you can clearly see his shadow. That's going to be from an outdoor light because an infrared, the moon's not that bright to show a shadow on infrared like that. It's going to be from an outdoor light. Yeah, I'm in Alabama. But again, don't misunderstand me. I'm not sitting here claiming that I'm, would bet everything I have on a lot of this stuff. I'm stating I could be wrong. I'm just showing you why I think the things I think, and that I believe more likely than not what I'm saying about that light out, like the outdoor light, and that this is from the same nights. that more likely than not they are. But again, that's not 100%. And again, I keep on going back to the main thing that makes me think they would have to be from the same night is because of how they were able to pull the footage from that night. Did I hear about the two people under him unalived themselves 2016? Under who, Gabby? Some say she never got home. Now I've disproven that numerous times, and that I am positive on. She did make it home. And the way we know that is because her iPhone arrived at her house just before 10 p.m. that night. Her pacemaker was connected to her iPhone via Bluetooth at that time. Her iPhone stayed at her house with her pacemaker connected to it via Bluetooth until 2:28 a.m. At 2:28 a.m., her pacemaker got out of Bluetooth signal from her iPhone and never came back. Her iPhone was still at her house. And it's very easy to track someone's locations on an iPhone if you have the actual phone. You can go download everything. So they could see, okay, this is where the iPhone was at this time, this is where it was at this time. And then at that same time, they can compare that to, okay, was her pacemaker hooked up via Bluetooth to that phone at the same time? Yes. Okay. So that means she had to be in the same place as her iPhone. Does that make sense? Oh yeah. Nanos. Yes. I have seen that. Yeah. And I'm doing a whole podcast on Nanos and all the sketchy things that's happened around him and the horrible, like he's horrible. Yes. They have her iPhone. And you don't have to ping it. That iPhone keeps track of you. Trust me, I know. I've downloaded many. With the Cellbrite, which is the device that you use to download these devices, it pulls every piece of data that's ever been on that phone. What are my thoughts on this? Is she still alive? I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I definitely hope I'm wrong on this, and I pray that I'm wrong on this, but I don't believe so. What is the last? I think I said I was maybe a 3% chance she's still alive, but there is still a chance. I'm not saying that she's definitely not alive. I'm saying it, in my opinion, there's a very small chance, but there is a chance. Well, if they probably have a ton of footage they haven't released. Well, if they were able to pull video from that Nest camera that was no longer there, because the Nest camera was completely removed and gone. They couldn't find it. I do know that. So the information, the data, the video they were able to pull was from the cloud. And if somehow they were able to pull from numerous days before, then yeah, they've got a ton of, I mean, again, if they have all that, it's very hard to believe they haven't solved this. Like, how in the hell if you have that much video footage from this house? Why haven't they released any statements or press conferences? Because the sheriff's an idiot. The sheriff has gone around and had these little interviews with different news stations. And as we discussed the other night, and someone brought up the point that it's because he wants it to be the Sheriff Nano's show. And so, therefore, he's not going to set up a press conference and have the FBI there because he wants it to be all about him. It is unheard of, and this is completely unprecedented for a case this size to never have any press conferences. Anywhere else, they would be having a press conference at least every other day. At least. Nothing like this has ever happened. That's how ignorant and dumb this sheriff is. Does anyone think there are two separate people in these videos? And here's my other thing about the two separate people. Now, I have stated from the beginning, I do not think in any way that this was carried out by one person. I don't think there was only one person at that house that night involved in this. I don't think that at all. So those could still be from the same night, but be different people. I believe they're just identical. The jacket is the same, in my opinion. I think the jacket is exactly the same jacket the guy has on. As far as the style, like the type of jacket. The pants look the same, but again, you can't tell. I mean, you can't tell that they're different. You can't tell that they're the same. Shoes, you cannot tell. I'm telling you for infrared. For those of you that think one has a different shoes on, yeah, it's possible he has different shoes on, but you cannot tell from that infrared. You can't. And again, the other face mask does have eyes and a mouth. But it's still, I mean, that could still be two different people from the exact same night, because I just don't see one person carrying this out completely by themselves. I just don't see that. Yeah, no, I agree that the weapon holster is obviously clearly visible in one and not in the other. Now, is it possible that in the other, he just has his jacket on the outside of that weapon and pulled down? It is possible. Again, I can't tell from the infrared, but that is possible. Now, definitely do not think he had a backpack on in that other picture. I think the backpack is not on him. But again, some people were acting like it'd be impossible to take a backpack off. I don't know why people were acting like that. I do believe there were some indoor cameras, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it's odd that she didn't have a subscription for the cameras. I mean, I've got a Ring doorbell camera on my house I don't have a subscription for, but I've got hardwired cameras all around my house that are saved to a hard drive that save everything, but I don't have a subscription for that. There are a lot of people that don't pay for the subscriptions. They just want the Ring and Nest doorbell cameras to, if somebody's at their door and they're not at home, or if somebody's at their door and they are at home, they want to see who it is. They want to talk to them. That's not odd. I know. I mean, there's a ton of people that don't. If I had an 84-year-old mother living alone, I would have cameras everywhere that I could pull up. How would your mother feel about that? Because I'm sure there are a lot of 84-year-olds that don't want cameras where their family can pull them up at any time. Yeah, I agree. There had to have been at least two people. Nancy couldn't walk very far on her own, especially without her cane. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I agree. I don't think one person did this. I just don't. Question, is marijuana legal in Arizona for recreational? Well, that question is definitely relevant to the conversation. Honestly, I don't know about Arizona. I'm not sure. Yes, an FBI agent admitted that they can lie and say the person's clear. Well, yeah, police can lie. They can absolutely lie. There's nothing wrong with that. But the FBI never put out that any of the family was cleared. The FBI did not put out anybody was cleared. The sheriff did that, and I'm telling you, I got this from an extremely reliable source. The sheriff did that completely on his own. He didn't ask the FBI. He didn't run it by them. They were as shocked as everyone when they heard that he put out a statement saying the family had been cleared. I mean, I think as far as his route of ingress, I think they entered through a back door as far as when they originally entered the house, and then exited through the front door because that's where the blood spatter, blood drops were on the front porch. So, and that has been confirmed as Nancy's. So she was standing on the front porch at some point. So I think they probably, when they took that camera down, I think that's why he came. I think that's why the guy, and again, this is speculation. Please understand, this is speculation. This is just what I speculate happened. That when he came around to check the front area, so they could leave through that and take care of that camera. And what I think happened, and again, pure speculation, but I think the front door was already supposed to be unlocked. And when he walked up first and it was still locked, then he kind of froze up a little bit and was like, shoot, I need to take this camera off, but it's on right now. And so he started, in his smartness, started scrambling for seeing what he could cover the camera with. And then anyway, when they got rid of that camera and busted the lights out, I think they backed a car up to the front, closer to the front there, and then walked her out the front door and got out of there. Again, that is speculation, but that's what I believe happened. Why can the FBI not tell Nanos they're taking over? I mean, they pretty much, they've taken over what they can, but so this is very hard to explain, and it's a very gray area as well. So understand, I'm trying to explain this the best way that I know how that would make sense. They have the authority to take over for this. This is a federal case, okay? And they can take over the case, but they can't force the sheriff to cooperate with them, such as the evidence they've got, the witnesses they've talked to, in any of that coordination. The federal government doesn't have that right over a state to just barge in and do whatever they want. But as far as the actual case, the feds have all the right in the world to take the case over and run it through the federal courts. But that's the only thing that means, that they can run it through the federal courts, because it is a federal case at this point. But it does not mean they can just go in and tell the sheriff exactly what to do and he's going to listen. They don't have that right. Now, the reason we don't ever see this is because any sheriff with a decent mind at all that's normal would have turned this all over to the FBI in the beginning, because most wouldn't want to be leading this. They would want the FBI to be leading it and take over and say, hey, call me when you need me. So this is unprecedented, the way that this sheriff is being, because he is refusing to do that. I think that's what's wrong with the sheriff. He smokes way too much marijuana recreationally. There's a lot of very smart people that use the green substance daily, and they're not dumb. They're not daily, not like every day, but they use it often, and this actually helped some people. Thoughts on her not having her meds that she needs to survive? I mean, if she doesn't have them, and I don't know exactly what kind of meds she takes, and nor am I a medical professional. But I mean, if they're medicines that she absolutely has to take, and if she misses 3 days in a row that she can't live, then, I mean, again, that's part of the reason why I'm saying there is a less than 5% chance she's still alive. We don't know that the perpetrator arrived at the porch from the left. Again, we don't know what all he did before then. We know that time when he walked up, that he came from the left. But I mean, as far as exactly where they parked, I mean, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine on that. But I do think once they took those lights out and took the camera out, they pulled the car up as close as they could to the front door. If it was no force entry, you think the door was unlocked, somebody had a key, or she let him in? I mean, I think there's a possibility the back door was left unlocked. Maybe she normally left it unlocked, or I think it's just as good a possibility they had a key. I think the least possible thing would be her let them in, but again, that's just I don't know for sure, but that's just my guess. I think the least chance was her letting them in, but I think there's a better chance that either it was just left unlocked or they had a key to the back door. Kind of makes no sense why take back lights out if only in the front door need to. I mean, criminals don't like lights. That's what I mean, that goes to my point. They're going to take out as many lights as they can to make it as dark as possible. And that goes back to my point I'm always preaching about. Have your house lit up like a football field at night. I mean, around my entire house it looks like daylight. And turn your infrared, the night vision on your cameras off and keep them on daytime and shine lights where your cameras are shining. It makes a huge difference. We're seeing, and I was preaching this way before this. You can ask the people who've been following me. I've been preaching, keep that infrared crap off and the night vision off at night because you can't hardly see good. You can't see much from them. Keep them on daytime and have light shining. Makes a big difference. That's pretty funny, Deidre. I'll give you that. I can't afford to keep my lights on. I'm on Alabama Power. There's a big thing with Alabama Power right now and how they're charging people outrageous prices for power. However, and I'm not an electrical expert, but if you have LED lights, they don't use that much power at all. I don't ever turn my outside lights off. They stay on all day and night just because if I ever turn them off during the day, I'd probably forget, turn them back on, and so they just stay on. I don't think it makes a difference in our power bill, really. How much do they want to give her back? Is that even on the table still? No, that was never on the table. This was never a kidnapping for ransom. Now that I believe. I don't think this was ever a kidnapping for ransom. And another reason why I don't think she's alive is they've never shown proof of life. I think there's and again, I hope I'm wrong. Please understand me. I hope I'm wrong, but I think there's a decent chance that she didn't make it through that night. Oh yeah, your air conditioner and heater makes a huge difference in your power bill. That is for sure. Do I think the ransom notes are possibly a publicity stunt with TMZ? I do. Now, again, I'm not stating that as a fact. I think that's a good possibility at this point. And the owner of TMZ is, and there's a reason I'm not saying his name, but the owner of TMZ is making that seem even more plausible due to a couple days ago, him literally coming out and stating, you can go look this up, that they were not going to announce any other letters they got, that they were just going to send it to the FBI and not give it any more publicity. He said that. And the very next day, he comes out, we got another letter, and he talks about it. The very next day. And again, you can go look it up. I don't, it's getting so late in the live, I don't feel like pulling it all up tonight, but I'll have it up for the next live if I remember. But yeah, it's crazy. Now, I do not think this has nothing to do with the cartel in no way whatsoever. Nothing to do with the cartel. What's the reason you and your team think they took her? Your guess is as good as mine. Now, I'll say this. As far as an investigation, you want to try to focus on the motive. Because if you can figure out a motive, then that can lead you. That's the start. Like, you want to start at, okay, what's the motive here? And in this situation, as far as the information that we know, I have no idea, honestly. But I can take some things out of that equation. I can say this was not a kidnapping for ransom, because even if the first note was real, it was sent 2 days after they took her. That's never happened in a kidnapper. Never. Again, if you kidnap someone for ransom, you're going to want to get this over as fast as possible, especially when you're talking about an 84-year-old with serious health issues. You're not going to want to have to keep her alive for long. So waiting 2 days to send that was never the motive. Now, that's not saying that money couldn't be the motive in another way, such as maybe if family's involved, it could be some kind of inheritance or something like that, insurance money. Again, and I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying that's a possibility as far as money being a motive. Other than that, I don't think money's a motive at all. And so from that, you can just speculate what some other possible motives would be. Again, from what information we know. Now, again, I think they know a lot more than we know, hopefully. And I'm sure they do. But from what we know, I mean, again, your guess is as good as mine on other possible motives. I wish people would post their sources or say when pushing out speculation, misinformation. It's dangerous how people believe stuff and then are on to 5 other chance to repeat. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Well, people will see something and just run with it. I'm like, hold on, let's slow down. Again, that, and I'm not going to call the name, but the information about that other picture video from the guy being from a different night, that was put out today by a huge creator that I have a ton of respect for. And I know they are very careful at what they put out. But they did state that it was from a source from ABC. But I'm still surprised they put that out, but I'm not putting that out. I'm not going to put that out anywhere because I don't believe that. And just because a source told ABC, like, that could be anybody. But you got to look at sources here. Anytime you receive information or you hear intelligence, the first thing you look at is the source and try to verify, or is this a reliable source? Is this a unreliable source? Is this a we just don't know? And if it's a we just don't know, guess what that's called? An unreliable source. But you'll hear people say a lot, a source. That throws me off because that's not a word I use. I don't just say a source. If I'm saying a source, I'm going to say a reliable source. Because, again, if they're not reliable to me, if I don't think they're reliable, I'm not going to say it because I don't know. And also on that, yes, a reliable source can be wrong at times. That's possible. It's always possible. But you got to look at the source of information before you go around acting like it is fact. That's why you need to go watch the Jordan Roan's 2 videos about her address in Google image search. What's why I need to? I know what information you're talking about. I'm just not sure why you're saying why? I just said that. Possible reason she was taken. I just told you the only possible reasons I can think of she was taken. Or no, I miss said that. Not the only possible reasons I think she was taken, but I just stated the reasons I don't think was the motive, such as the motive was not kidnapping for ransom. I mean, I can say that with a lot of confidence. But yes, someone searching images of her house before this, that's very interesting. And I've said that. It's extremely interesting. But that doesn't get us anywhere. Like, there's a lot more we have to know there. Someone searching her address right before this. Yeah, again, those are very interesting things that I'm sure the FBI is looking into and probably finding out the IP address that searched those things. Getting that information from Google can take a while, but I'm sure they are doing everything they can to try to track down those IP addresses. But I mean, other than that, there's nothing that doesn't tell me anything at this point. Are y'all still trying to tie this to Epstein? It's late. I'm running out on that note. Unless you can show me some factual evidence of anything to Epstein, just stop bringing that up. Like, everything is not a... I'm not saying this is not a conspiracy theory, but everything is not. But you got to have something. Like, Jesus Christ. At this point, I've seen nothing that would show me, that would make me even think that anything to do with Epstein would have anything to do with taking this 84-year-old woman from her home in the middle of the night. It just, what in the world, people? I have seen the evidence submission thing. I'm going to look more into that. Just first glance and first thoughts on that. People put the wrong dates. Police officers are known to put the wrong, accidentally put the wrong dates on things on submission forms all the time. That is very common. If you work night shift and you've been writing the one date on things, or you were on call the night before and you wrote that date on things for a while, and then the next day and you've been up and you end up writing that date, the same date, that's very common. I'm not saying that's what happened. I haven't looked deep enough into that, but just my first thoughts on that. But I will look into that, and we'll discuss that more on Wednesday. So if you're not following me or subscribing, please do those. I really appreciate that. And you can find me on all the platforms as Agent D Baker, except on Facebook, and it's just my full name, Derek, D-E-R-E-K, Baker. So please go follow me and again, subscribe. You can find my full podcast episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. So make sure if you're not on any of those, not following me on any of those, go do that. Check out my full podcast, and that's about it. But I appreciate each and every one of you being on here, and I really mean that. I think we had some really good discussions, and again, if I come across as an asshole, sometimes I'm not trying to be. I promise. Don't take it personal. I enjoy the conversations, and I enjoy more than anything of people that have different thoughts than me and think different things than me, and so we can talk about them and go from there. I enjoy that. I don't want a bunch of people that watch me that just think and believe the same way I do. That would be no fun and not interesting at all. So, but again, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a great rest of your Monday night and a great Tuesday tomorrow. My normal lives, you can catch me Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday nights from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then if there's a big story that comes up or something crazy happens, I'm usually would be jumping on live during that if it's something really big. So it just and that also depends if I'm on the road, like traveling or something. But if I'm here in studio, then I'll always jump on and may do some extra lives on that. But other than that, hope you all have a great rest of your night, and I appreciate it. Welcome back to Truth or Recon. I'm Agent D Baker, a retired narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran of OEF and OIF. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I have seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our